Good morning, Morai Rabotai. We're continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, and we're starting Siman Tzadibet. Maran writes, Haya Sarich Linkavav. This is a Siman speaking about a person that needs to use the facilities, needs to use the bathroom, and it's either in middle of Tefillah, or he wants to learn, or he wants to say brachot, and all of those we're going to discuss in the course of the Siman, starting with a Gemara explicitly mentioned in Masechet Brachot of Chaf Gimel. The Gemara says, if you need to use the bathroom, at some point you can't daven, and at some point your tefillah is so not accepted that you have to go back and daven again. We call that tefillah to'aiva. It's an abomination. It's not a prayer. היה צריך לנקביו על להתפלל, ואם מתפלל תפילתו תועבה, וצריך לחזור ולהתפלל. If you were in need of using the bathroom when you davened, that's not a tefillah. You need to go back and daven all over again. That's only that's only when it's bad enough that you can't wait and hold off for the amount of time that takes to walk a parsa, which is a shah v'chomish, an hour and a fifth, which is 72 minutes. That's more. If you could hold yourself that much, in other words, you need to go to the bathroom, you have the ta'ava, the need to go, but it's not that bad. It could wait. Then yatsa b'di'evet. Then b'di'evet yotze. To which the Mishnah Berura is going to say, you still should not be davening, but if you did, you don't have to repeat the tefillah. Now, Mishnah Berura holds that one should even forgo tefillah b'tzibur for that. That's how important it is. One should be willing to forgo tefillah b'tzibur if he needs the bathroom and he can't have any other minyan afterwards. Then it's so important that you should be able to even forgo tefillah b'tzibur. Now, Kaf HaChaim says, well, not necessarily. If you could hold yourself that much, 72 minutes is a long time. You could daven b'tzibur if that's the only minyan you could catch. He also agrees that if you have a later minyan, you should miss the current minyan and go to the next minyan. You know, nowadays you always go to the minyan that started 15-20 minutes ago, right? Because we are all like ADD, and unfortunately people don't have the patience to wait. You can't. We said this before in Siman Nun Bet. You can't start the tefillah late if you have another minyan afterwards. Right? Come early, and if it's important enough, have some derech eretz for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and come on time. You would have enough derech eretz for a meeting. You would never be showing up 5 minutes late to me, and if you do, you'll be apologizing profusely for the rest of your days. Every time you see the person say, Mehila, 5 years ago I came late to the meeting. But for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, 25 minutes that they already said Baruch Hu, or they didn't say Baruch Hu. You don't come late, you come on time. The same thing is over here. If you have a minyan afterwards, why should you daven a b'di'avet tefillah? Even according to Kaf HaChaim, you would miss the minyan and daven with the next minyan, and have a guf naki, have a body that's clean. Now let's first finish, before jumping the gun, the words of the Shulchan Aruch. אבל לכתחילה לא יתפלל עד שיבדוק עצמו תחילה יפה. So let's see. But לכתחילה, you should not daven until you check your body, make sure that you have a guf naki. Rama adds over here, v'chol hanitzrach linkavav, says the Rama, it's not only by tefillah. If you are nitzrach linkavav, if you need to use the bathroom, afiru asur afiru b'divrei Torah, kol zeman shkufo meshukas. You can't even learn Torah if your body is not clean. That means you need to empty your body. You need to go to the bathroom. It's not proper to learn even Torah, and goes with that, as we're going to see in the Mishnah Berura. Same as with brachot, saying Kriyat Shema, and so on. Now, what are the gedarim of this? What are the boundaries? This is, is it tefillat yachid, tefillat b'tzibur? Is it, using bathroom for urinating, or is it only excrement? What is exactly the boundaries of this? Let's study a little bit about that. Says the Mishnah Berura, the Chafetz Chaim writes, the source for this is, as we saw in the Gemara, Hikon likrat Elokecha Yisrael, the pasuk in Amos, Perek Dalit. The person has to be prepared for meeting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't go with the body that's not naki. That's not a prepared goof. You have to prepare yourself. It's not just like Rav Yehuda said that he would fix his appearance and attire, but your body also has to be prepared, and part of that is you can't be in need of bathroom when you stand in front of Hashem. And the Gemara also dashes from a pasuk that says Shemor draglecha, you should keep your legs kasher terech el bet ha'elokim, when you go to bet ha'elokim, house of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara says Shemor draglecha, your legs means your nekavecha. You have to watch your bodily needs when you are preparing yourself for your meeting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when you're going to be davening. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shemor nekavecha b'sha'ah she'ata omed b'tfilah lefanai. So you mentioned once before that the Yoetz, Rabbi Eliezer Papa says, even if you didn't know the halacha and you davened like this, you have to go back and daven again. And also the onesh of it is not going to be any less because you didn't know. The argument of, I didn't know, is not a good argument in Yiddishkeit, because you should have known better, right? You should have known better. You should learn the halachot. The ignorance is not necessarily bliss when it comes to these things. You have to know. You have to learn the halachot. And if you haven't learned the halachot, you set yourself up for 45 minutes, 1 hour every night to finish the entire Yalchot Yosef in 2 years and be certified on it. There's a place that in town that does that. And you come and learn the halachot. It's not an excuse that a person has been frum for 20 years, 30 years, and they have never finished the basic Yitzur Shulchan Aruch. It's not a good excuse, honestly. So therefore, says the Pele Yoetz, you will be ne'enash chas v'shalom even if you didn't know the halacha, because the onesh would be on why didn't you learn? Why didn't you set yourself up for success by going through the basics and knowing the halachot? And we mentioned before that Maran Chida in Moreh Be'etzba, in his small sefer, which is Me'ata Kamut V'Rava Echut, a lot of quality there, even though that's very short and small sefer. He writes that the Rashet Tevot of this Nisrach Le'Nekavav Alit Palel, that the person that needs to use the bathroom should not daven, is the same Rashet Tevot as Hikon Likrat Elokecha Yisrael, is Hanisrach Le'Nekavav Alit Palel. Now, the Ben Ish Chai says that based on Sod, and this we said in last shiur, this is a very important halacha, because when a person has the excrement in his body, that is source of klipot, source of tum'ah. That's why, Kabbalistically speaking, and even Chacham Ovadia goes with this, that nowadays the bathrooms, Chacham Ovadia says, is not considered betakiseh shel parsai, because the excrements stay in the toilet stall, in the bowl, before you flush them, so that becomes a makom la'achizat atum'ah, achizat achitzonim. Hence, even though that's much cleaner, because it's not automated like the betakiseh shel parsai, says Chacham Ovadia, is not considered betakiseh shel parsai. It's a big thing. He goes after the mekubalim in this one, and Ben Ish Chai is very, very specific about the fact that when you have these bodily needs, there's tum'ah in your body, you're not supposed to daven. He says, even if a person is in the middle of learning, you're learning a piece of Zohar, he says, but let me finish the page and then go to the bathroom. He says, don't do that. Stop wherever you are. As soon as you have the need, you go and you take the psolet away before you go on in tefillah or in your learning, because the kochot tum'ah are upon your body, chas v'shalom, when you are in need of using the bathroom. Now, the Shulchan Aruch says, Sarach la'achzir ritpaler, you have to go back and daven again if you had an urgent need of going to bathroom. Says the Mishnah Berura, Chafetz Chaim says, Yesh Omrim, that's machloket. There's those who say that's only for Gdolim, for number two. If you need to to go relieve yourself of Rama too, then the So'ah, that's when this halakha is there. But the Ktanim, if you only are in need of urination, then it's not the evid, don't have to go back and daven again. That's unless v'yesh cholkim, and there are those who disagree. So this machloket poskim, is this only for So'ah, or is it even for meraglaim, even for someone that needs to urinate? So it says the Orlesion, Ben Sion Abba Shaul explains this machloket, which the reason of the tefillah, that you have to have a guf naki, and therefore it's asur to daven when you need to use the bathroom. Is it because of something that troubles you and your mind is not clear? Or is it because there is some sort of tum'ah because of the so'ah, and if you have so'ah that needs to exit the body, your body becomes like like a bathroom, basically. Right? So is that the reason, or is it just because you are being bothered with the need to go to bathroom? So if you say you're bothered with the need to go to bathroom, it doesn't make a difference if it's urine or if it's so'ah. But if the reason is because of so'ah being a problem, then it's only, of course, for the for number two, because so'ah mina Torah is a problem, as we mentioned before. Having so'ah in front of you, it's a problem in a biblical level. So here also, if you say that the so'ah needs to come out, and that's the problem, it will be only for number two, not necessarily for urine. Lamase, the Berura halacha over here by Sarich Lachzor Utpaler is not a long one. He brings the machloket, and he basically says we cannot paskin one way or another. The Chafetz Chaim says there's no clear way to paskin like any of the sides of the poskim over here. But if you daven and you're done now, so what you should do is, says the Chafetz Chaim, you should daven again al tenai shel nedava. If you needed bathroom to go to urinate, and you davened, even despite the urgent need of going to bathroom, but it was only number one. So it says the Chafetz Chaim, you go back and daven al tenai shel nedava, because it's not clear if you have to go back and daven. So do the davening again, but make a condition. If I need this tefillah for my shaharit, minchar, whatever it was, that I davened when I didn't have guf naki, so it should be considered my real tefillah. If I don't really need to daven again, if the halakha is like those who say you don't have to go back and daven again, this should be a voluntary tefillah that I'm uttering to Hashem, and as the halachot of tefillah shel nedava has it, you will be mahadesh davar. You'll ask for something new that you normally don't ask for, and that will be your tefillah al tenai shel nedava.
You start over, or you just continue your prayer?
Well, you're in the middle of tefillah. You say you're in the middle of tefillah and you remembered what?
No, you have to go to let's say from number one. You come back.
Well, again, if you started your tefillah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna discuss that as well. So that's the psak of the Mishnah Berura. But nevertheless, the Ben Ish Chai and Chacham Obadia, they hold that you don't have to go back. They're mekel. You don't have to go back and daven again if it was only for urine. So says the Chafetz Chaim, Hiluch parsa hu arba milin shehu shiur sha'ah vechomesh. That's 72 minutes. Yachol la'amid me'et atchalat tefillah. This is talking about from the beginning of the tefillah. Hayav bo koach lishchot shiur zeh. In other words, even if you daven, let's say a 10-minute tefillah, right, 7-minute tefillah, if in the beginning you were able to wait 72 minutes, even though at the end of tefillah, last brachot, you may not have been able to hold for that many minutes, still it's fine because you started your tefillah properly. Even though that after your tefillah you right away went and did your needs, still would be considered an okay tefillah b'di'evet, of course. But the chatchila we mentioned, Shulchan Aruch says you should not daven. Even if you could hold yourself 72 minutes, you still should not daven until you clean your body. once you feel the need, you have the urge to go to bathroom. Even if you're going to miss tefillah b'tzibur, says the Chafetz Chaim, so be it. Miss tefillah b'tzibur, better to daven b'yahid with the guf naki, because again, as we mentioned before, anything that's essential, part of the structure of the tefillah, pushes away tefillah b'tzibur. And that's what Chacham Obadia holds. That's what the Ben Ish Chai holds. As we mentioned before, the Kaf HaChaim disagrees with this. Kaf HaChaim says if you could hold yourself for 72 minutes and you're going to miss tefillah b'tzibur, then daven b'tzibur, if that's the only minyan, and hold yourself until you're done, and then you could go to the bathroom. How about if I see that the time of tefillah is going to pass? Completely is going to pass the time of tefillah. How about then? Says the Chafetz Chaim, then you could be lenient. So if you could hold yourself 72 minutes, then better to daven bizman than waiting and losing zman tefillah altogether, right? You know who is Machmir Haravadia agrees with this? The Oretzion agrees with this. You know who disagrees with this? The Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai, as we mentioned before, is very machmir and doing anything when your guf is not naki. Ben Ish Chai says, what kind of tefillah is that? If you're davening things, tum'ah is on you, isn't it? It says, misman shel tefillah, but don't daven at tefillah that's to'eva. Well, it's not really to'eva, because you call yourself 72 minutes, but it's not a proper way of davening. So even be it, if you need to miss Zman Tefillah, says the Ben Ish Chai. So you see how important this is. Now, we don't deal with this necessarily every day, but it's important that a person should plan in a way that they use the bathroom before Tefillah, especially if you have a longer Tefillah like Shaharit, that until you get to Shemona Esrei, you have 20 minutes, whatever it is, until you get to Shemona Esrei. So you want to make sure beforehand that you have cleaned your body. Again, people who wake up early in the morning, we mentioned it in the beginning of the shiur. Let's mention it at the end of shiur also. Yoetz writes, he says how much of a chaval it is people who don't get up early in the morning. So you get up early in the morning before Or Hayom, before Alot HaShahar, you get to have your coffee, you get to use the bathroom, you get to daven properly like a mensch. You wake up right before Shaharit and you're scrambling. That's not enjoyable tefillah. You still half sleep when you get to Baruch. You have to wake yourself up by Alun Shabbat. What kind of tefillah is that? Get up early in the morning, have a little bit of learning, say the Tikkun Hatzot, have your coffee in the morning, use the bathroom, clean your goof. That's what he says. He says a person has to plan things properly, and waking up early in the morning, of course, necessitates going to sleep on time, and so on, which, again, this is a talk that we have had before. Let's finish the last Mishnah Berura. Says, the Ramah added, if you remember, that it's not just tefillah, but even divrei Torah is asur. You should not be learning even. Of course, with Kriyat Shema and other brachot is also going to be a problem. By the way, the Ben Ish Chai says doing a mitzvah is fine. This Ben Ish Chai is in Rav Brachot. He wrote a shoot. It's a very thin sefer Rav Brachot. People don't know that it even exists. But really, the very first teshuvah that Ben Ish Chai ever wrote in his life at the age of 16 is printed as the first teshuvah in Rav Brachot. It's a teshuvah about a etrog. This actually happened. One Sukkot night, first night of Sukkot, people came to Ben Ish Chai's father, and they said the only kasher etrog that they had in Baghdad, can you imagine this? The only one that was kasher was a etrog that was from a house that their father just passed away. So it's a etrog of Yetomim, right? Etrog of Yetomim. But the problem was, one of the Yetomim, one of the kids of this family who now inherited the house and were the owners of this etrog tree, and hence the etrog, was a katan, was not bar mitzvah yet. So katan could be koneh, but cannot be makneh. If he reached the age of peutot, could acquire but cannot relinquish ownership. That's why, by the way, if the first day of Sukkot, you don't want to give your etrog to your kid to own, because then they can't give it back to you. If you want to do that, you have to do it after you say yourself, then you can give it to them. But nevertheless, that's a tshuva that he stayed up the whole night, the Ben Ish Chai at that age, and in the morning they came to see him. He was still up with hundreds of Sfarim open in front of him, and he paskined the way he paskins over there in that tshuva, and then he wrote the tshuva up. That's the very first tshuva that he ever wrote in his life. So, be that as it may, that's Sefer HaBrachot. He says you could do a mitzvah. It's not a problem. Is saying a bracha, learning Torah, that's a problem. You need to go. But for an act of mitzvah, you don't need it. But here is what the Mishnah Berura says. B'di'evet mashma b'divrei primigadim de'en sarich lachzor v'likro. B'di'evet, you don't have to go back and say Shema again. V'chen katav Ramban b'milchamot, and we find even the Rishonim, the Ramban also writes the same way. Now, it's clear from the Ramah that if you need the bathroom and you can't hold yourself for 72 minutes, then you cannot learn, right? Asur b'divrei Torah. But even if you don't have the need so urgently that you will be over on Bal Shaksu. Bal Shaksu is mamash when you really need to go to the bathroom, then it's Bal Shaksu. It's a different isur. It's a different level of isur. But even if you don't have that much of an urgent need, but you can't hold yourself 72 minutes, still asur to learn will come out from the Ramah, right? And the Ben Ish Chai, of course, hold the same way. The Kaf HaChaim holds the same way. Chacham Obadia seems to hold the same way. Or Letzion is a little bit more mekel over here. Chacham Ben Zion Abba Shaul says, well, if you really could hold yourself for now, you're pushing yourself for a minute or two, you want to finish a Tosfot, you want to finish a little halacha, and then go to the bathroom, that's fine. That's what the Order Sion says. But again, as we mentioned, Kabbalistically speaking, the Ben Ish Chai is very, very specific about not doing anything and just dropping and going to the bathroom. Now, how about saying a bracha without Shemu Malchut? Can you say a bracha without Shemu Malchut? The Kaf HaChaim says it's mutar to say because it's not really a bracha. Kol bracha she'en bo Shem u'malchut eno bracha. So therefore, you could say praise to Hashem without Shem Malchut, and that would be fine as well. And the last Mishnah Berura says shegufo meshukatz afilu im eno mitaveh kol kach she'eh bo mishum bat shaksu kevan she'eno yachol la'amod atzmo ad parsa, because you can't hold yourself for 72 minutes, it will be considered guf meshukatz. It's your body is disgraceful now. Ube parsa mutar afilu bekiryat Shema. If you could hold yourself for 72 minutes, then you could say Shema, and all of that is fine. And he sends us to a different maramakom over here. A person that's darshaning, is the rabbi, is in the middle of a drasha, or is teaching Torah, is in the middle of giving a shiur, right? Says the Mishnah Berura, mutar lo lishchot atzmo, the bal shaksu rak isur darabanan u'mepnei kavod habriyon nitche. This is isur darabanan, and it's kavod habriot. 100% people are in the shul, and the rabbi is giving a shiur, is going to be missing for 5 minutes. It's not kavod habriot. It's a little bit embarrassing. Therefore, it's mutar for him to hold himself in that type of thing. A person is public speaking in the middle of a commencement speech or whatnot, and it's kavod habriot. Whenever it becomes kavod habriot, then it's mutar, because it's pushed away from kavod habriot, and therefore, if you are even in a tzibur that Tamei Chacham, imagine if Tamei Chacham is sitting in the middle of tzibur, and if he gets up to leave, everyone has to get up, stand up for him. So it disturbs the people. Even that, the poskim are willing to be mekel. Says the Kaf HaChaim, it will be mutar for him to not go and wait a little bit until the situation changes. But again, these are things that Chacham Einav B'Rosho. A person has to be thinking ahead of the time, planning properly before you get into the tzibur, before you get yourself into a drasha, into giving a shiur. Plan ahead of the time and try to have a guf naki. That would be, of course, the right thing to do. And B'ezrat Hashem will continue this in the days to come.
than any other